1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Okay, maybe Florida is a basketball school when the head coach makes $6 million a year. As you just heard Molly say, Todd Golden did get an extension today, a 6-year extension, that is. And, he's making right around what Billy Napier is making.
I was about to ask. I feel like, Billy's like 7 or something like that. But I jokingly, because they put it in our group chat, and I was like, I thought this was about to say the Chicago Bulls have hired Todd Golden.
Yes, you would have loved that for sure. 7.37 for Billy Napier, so just about 1.3 million more. But yeah, it is.
That's what a natty brings you.
That's right. And John Calipari, now the only coach in the SEC, head men's basketball coach, that makes more than Todd Golden.
Wow.
So this locks him in through 2030, 2031, that season. Mia,
Does he stay? Is he here in 2031, you think? If you were to predict right now.
I think he'll have another extension.
If
things continue to go well, he would have another extension.
Florida wouldn't want him.
Right.
I'm asking if
he stays. I think the biggest question is, does he value living in Gainesville with his young family over leaving to go to the NBA?
Yeah.
And going to the NBA does not guarantee you anything.
Yeah.
Look at all the other coaches that we've seen, including certainly Billy Donovan, who was one of the best college basketball coaches of all time and has struggled at the next level. Yeah. So you are secure. You can live in Gainesville for the next 20, 30 years and be the head coach of Florida, assuming that obviously he keeps things, he's not going to win a natty every year. But if Florida's making the tournament, similar honestly to his predecessor in Mike White, if Florida's making the tournament every year, Todd Golden can have that job for as long as he wants. And so for me, the interesting numbers, if Todd Golden were to leave for the NBA, he would owe Florida $3 million after next season, $2 million in 2027 or 2028, $1 million in 2029. If he were to leave for another school, he would owe Florida $16 million after 2026, $11 million after 2027, $4 million in 2028, and $3 million in 2029. So that goes to show you that the contract, Mia, is locking him up. He's not going to go to another school. Now, the NBA would obviously pay him enough that he wouldn't mind the buyout.
Also, how does a coach have to do that, but a player doesn't right now?
They might be learning, honestly. That's after the whole Tennessee Nico thing, Iamaleava, they need to learn to put buyouts in contracts.
To answer your question, Taylor, if they start getting wind that NBA teams are interested, if they start getting wind that other college teams are interested, those quote-unquote blue bloods, if Florida is a new blood, then there will be an extension for the purposes of elevating those salaries year by year in the later years of the contract. For me, I think what's going to be so fascinating in this next age of college basketball in particular, and certainly college football too, which we'll get to Adam Lichtenstein and the Miami Hurricanes coming up in just a bit, but I think what's going to be interesting, we have seen so many college coaches defect for the NBA and the NFL because they don't want to recruit. What if I told you...
Or deal with the transfer portal.
Correct. Or deal with the transfer
Which is worse
portal.
than recruiting nowadays,
What if I told you we could have a new age of college basketball or college football coaches who embrace that chaos? That want to truly, in the words of Deion Sanders, mold young men and women. That is their goal, is to develop and teach and to be creating and generating the next talented generation. Like, maybe that's a reality. Maybe Todd Golden, like Deion Sanders, says, I enjoy working with people as they progress through their career. I don't want to be dealing with the NBA and the personalities and the players who are basically coaching their own team.
Well, especially if that's the world you've grown up in. And I feel like it is going to start getting to the point where there's going to be a group of coaches who don't know otherwise. Like, that's the college world they've learned and kind of figured out. And so I do think that eventually that's going to be a place where everyone's like, oh, there was a world before. This is how everything is. And I know we'll probably see more changes. We've talked about all these different contracts and things that are going to come up and it being more like the NFL, more like the NFL, because there has to be some sort of boundaries set eventually. And so that's going to make it easier on them. They're going to be like, look, we went through this wild west of chaos and now we have still the same thing, but some more boundaries and restrictions in place.
Yeah. Some regulations would be great. Guard rails, right? Like, it just put something up so that you can't just jump from place to place, and someone, again, like a Nico Iamaleava story where he's practicing with the team and decides to desert them the day before the spring football game. Like, that should never be a thing because of money going elsewhere. But I do wonder, Mia, to your question about coaches embracing it, I think it's just so much easier in basketball. Like college basketball, it's so much easier to deal with the personnel on your roster than it is in college football. To only have like 12 of those guys you have to work with, or women's basketball, same thing. And then versus 90 guys on the football team, that's a whole different.
I would argue
does basketball have multiple portals like college football does?
Like multiple openings. Yes, correct.
Okay.
They do. But I think here's the thing, though, Lauren. In the same vein, you also, at the basketball level, do not have the staff resources that Billy Napier does in college football and many other college football programs do. You don't have 150 staffers in college basketball. Yes, part of that is because you don't have a 90-man roster, but that also plays into the recruiting too, does it not?
I mean, it does play into it, but I do think every sport at this type of level has a good enough staff now to keep track of the transfer portal, certainly high school recruits, and then make sure that they also retain their guys and then work with their guys right now, like an Alex Condon, who's got 1 foot at Florida, 1 foot potentially in the NBA draft.
So what's the difference then? I don't understand then. Why is college basketball easier? Just because there's 12 guys or 15 guys?
Less people to have to worry about.
But the point is that if you're a program like Florida, you're going to have the staff to help you. He has the resources that it's not all going to fall onto him to be the one who's actually purveying the transfer portal.
Well, and also if you have like 3 bench guys in basketball, that's probably a bigger hit than 3 bench guys when you have the big roster in football. So I think you can go back and forth about which is easier, but I get the idea of you have a small pool of guys that you're having to worry about keeping. But I also think we're going to see this next level when you talk about this new level of coaches. I think we're going to see this new competitive edge come out of some coaches where they're like, let's battle to see if I can keep this guy here. And that is going to be hard for some of the schools to be able to do that. And we've already seen it.
Look at some of these young coaches who got hired in the last 2 to 3 cycles, specifically Pat Kelsey at Louisville. These are guys, to your point, Taylor, who they are competitive on the recruiting trail. Yeah. They don't view recruiting and the transfer portal as an annoyance, as a nuisance, something they have to deal with. Well, yes. Do they enjoy this idea of outside forces, if you may, tampering, speaking with their players in season? But they've embraced it. And they've said, okay, when the off season does hit, I'm hitting the pavement and I'm competing just like I would on a basketball court. And I think you're going to see the same thing in college football, too, for that matter, as well, because you have the resources. You have 150 staffers helping you identify this talent. Now it's on you as the head coach to be the closer.
Todd Golden has shown that he is excellent in figuring out what guys to get from the transfer portal. And it is easier, in my opinion, to only have to figure out, okay, I need 7 new guys for this next year and exactly how they're going to fit in the system that he wants, versus if it's Billy Napier and he has, or certainly Mike Norvell is case in point.
Oh, definitely.
And we're going to talk a ton of college football this week. Mike Norvell, look at their roster. Yeah. Look at their depth chart. When you look at it on Our Lads, that's the one we always refer to because they have them in orange. That's to show you that they're a transfer.
The new pieces, yeah.
Yeah, that roster is littered, depth chart is littered with orange. Like Mike Norvell having to replace 40 players on the team because no one wanted to play at Florida State after they went 2-10 last year, or people are leaving, as far as graduating, which, does that even happen these days? I'm not sure. But I think that's a much more, even if you have enough staff, I still think that's a much bigger task.
I tweeted this a couple days ago, and I was talking to Mia about it. There was 26 high school players that were from Florida high school players drafted in this 2025 draft. That's a lot of talent that is just seeping out of Florida. And Florida State had 2 players drafted this year. And I think that Florida had 7 and Miami had 7, but Florida State had the same amount as UCF. And so I do think that when you have this pool, and when we talk about the players here from Florida in general, you're in this world where you can get guys that can come on and are going to be drafted in 3 or 4 years. You just have to be able to do that part of it. And I'm not saying Mike Norvell can't, but I don't think we've seen that out of him yet when it comes to the recruiting side of things. The portal, we've seen him obviously hit because that's what kind of led to that good season they've had. But I do think he has a lot to prove in that world.
He got, I want to say the year before, though, he had 13 players. FSU had 13
drafted.
players
But how many were like
transfer portal?
Yeah.
Sure,
12
yeah,
of the
no,
13.
a lot. But yeah, it's that goes to show you usually the lower amount of players you have drafted, the worse your season was that prior year. It really does translate.
One more quick note on Todd Golden getting that extension through 2031. Our friend Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South reports that Florida has increased their staff salaries as well. Of course, they lost 2 of their staffers to head coaching jobs. That, in my opinion, is a good recruiting tactic. That's a good marketing sell if you are Todd Golden, both to build your staff as well as to your players who you are trying to bring into your program. According to Neil, staff pay raises will place the Gators in the top 5 in the SEC in that regard. They were 11th prior to this season.
Yeah, his staff certainly is fascinating to watch because Carlin Hartman, I think, is a guy that other schools would love to pluck. He's the one who, if you remember during the tournament, the one game against Maryland, I want to say, that he really challenged his big guys because he thought they were playing soft. Yeah. And so that's a guy that, and the players absolutely love him. He got a huge ovation in Gainesville at the spring game, which shows you that Florida fans actually do pay attention to the assistant coaches, which I think is impressive. But yeah, like he's a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if one day he has his own program as well. And so yeah, it's a golden age, certainly pun intended, for Florida basketball. Which
that was good.
Thank you. A few years ago, when Mike White was at the helm, it certainly Florida was doing well, but not to this type of level.
I think that it was stale, and that is
the offense was really stale.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that, I've had family and friends reach out, of course, in the months since Doug Peterson was relieved of his duties here in Jacksonville. And they've said, well, didn't you guys love Doug? And I said, it's not. I still love Doug, Doug the guy,
sure.
Doug the coach. Like Doug's a good dude. But it got stale.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, you know what? This isn't progress. This isn't growth. We need to restart.
Is that how Pittsburgh fans feel?
And that's a great point.
It's just
Taylor.
stale.
It's good.
Yeah.
The enemy of great is good. And that's what Florida basketball was under Mike White, and that's certainly what they're facing in Pittsburgh as well. And it's what they were facing here in Jacksonville, and that is why bold, sweeping change was needed.
But it also got stale quick.
Yes. Not
like
not
that
wrong.
bag of chips was left wide open overnight. And
I hate stale food. I do. I hate to waste food, but stale food is just not my thing. All right, we will talk some college football this week. Coming up next, we will chat Miami Hurricanes. Tomorrow, we will talk FSU. On Thursday, we'll talk Florida. And so certainly when we talk Florida with Zach Albaverdi, we'll also talk a little bit of basketball as well. And then we'll talk Georgia on Friday. So coming up next, Adam Lichtenstein of the Sun Sentinel. We will talk some Hurricanes. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on Terminex on 92.5 FM.
From the first play ball to the final, your home for play-by-play is 1010XL.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning, all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will get first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
This spring, the action is non-stop at Best Bet St. Augustine. From heart-pounding daily high hands and tournaments to amazing table games promotions. But that's not all. Immerse yourself in the excitement of your favorite springtime sports at Aces Sports Bar, located in Best Bet St. Augustine. Enjoy a perfect blend of wings, beer, poker, and all the big games on our massive screens. For a full rundown of all the action and how you can be a part of it, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you're heading to the Aug or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
We know Mom is special.
The best defense is a good offense.
Let 1010XL help you with gift ideas for Mom. From Beaches Dermatology, Sawgrass Marriott Spa, and Kuhn Flowers. Go to 1010XL.com.
Remember Mom this Mother's Day with a beautiful floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers. JJ here with 1010XL, and there's no excuse for a last-minute thing when you can simply call Kuhn Flowers or go online to kuhnflowers.com.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home this week at the newly renovated 5-Star Ballpark. The Jumbo Shrimp take on the AAA New York Mets. Tacos and tequila tonight, followed by a noon Military Appreciation Day game tomorrow. Presented by 5-Star and True Vet Solutions. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, you have told us about buying better quality diamonds, but is there any way to start with a smaller diamond and use it to trade up to a larger diamond later on?
Frank, it's interesting you'd ask that because our founder, H.F. Underwood, popularized growing your diamond here in Jacksonville about 50 years ago, and it's something we still do today. When a customer buys an Underwood engagement ring or solitaire diamond pendant or a pair of ear studs, we guarantee they get the price they paid for it on the purchase of any larger diamond. Now, a lot of stores would say, big deal. We do that too, but here's the Underwood difference. We guarantee you get what you paid when you trade in your Underwood diamond, even if you're trading up by only $1. It's not that you have to trade up 2 for 1 like most jewelers ask. There have been literally thousands of people in the Jacksonville area who have taken advantage of our policy, and Underwood still grows a lot of diamonds for a lot of people.
Underwood's, serving excellence since 1928. In San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor, lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
All right, time to talk some more college football. It is that time of year when we're getting into getting out of spring practices and spring camp. So let's head down to Miami and talk to Adam Lichtenstein. He's a Miami Hurricane beat writer for Sun Sentinel. So Adam, thanks for hopping on with us. I know anytime we need Miami chat, you're always down to join us.
Yeah, always happy to be here. Talk some Hurricanes football, talk some college football.
Love it. Let's start before we get into the current team. I believe it was 7 Miami Hurricanes drafted this year, obviously starting with Cam Ward. But give us a little idea of what we can expect here in Jacksonville as the Jaguars will be facing Cam Ward against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, he's the kind of quarterback who he'll probably turn the ball over at some point. There's a decent chance of that. He makes risky throws, but he also can make throws that make your jaw drop. He's one of those guys. He got some comparisons to Patrick Mahomes during the draft process. Now, is he going to be as good as Pat Mahomes? Probably not. Mahomes is an all-time great, but Cam Ward has got kind of that similar kind of gunslinger mentality. He'll throw from, he'll throw on the run. He'll sit in the pocket. He can kind of do it all, and he's got the ball just comes out of his hand so easily. He's just an extremely skilled quarterback, and he's prone to making mistakes because he's so confident in his own ability.
Adam, I don't want to bury the lead. I want to get to Carson Beck. But real quick, in terms of Canes now in the NFL, Xavier Restrepo, the 40-yard dash heard around the world for all the wrong reasons. Were you at Pro Day? What do you make of this dramatic fall for a player who was such an integral part of the Canes offensive system for the last 4+ years?
And no way he's that slow, right?
No, he's not. You can watch him on film. I've watched him since he was in high school, and he's not that slow. Is he a speed demon? Is he going to put up a 4.3 40 when he's healthy? No, he's not that fast either. He's got probably average, maybe slightly below average speed. But he said he tweaked his, hamstring while he was warming up at Pro Day, but he didn't run at the Combine, so we thought he should run at Pro Day, and, that didn't help him. But I think he ended up in a good spot in Tennessee. Restrepo, I remember I asked Miami offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson about Restrepo kind of towards the end of the season about what his pro prospects would look like. And Dawson said something like, look, if he's on your team in training camp, he's going to be on your team and on your roster for the season because you're not going to be able to cut him because he works so hard. All the cliches about, gym rats and all that, it applies to him. He's an extremely hardworking guy, big teamwork guy, and he's got skills. He's not just an intangibles guy. He's a great route runner. He's got good hands. He's a talented receiver. So I think the Titans kind of got a gem, a diamond in the rough, being able to get him as an undrafted free agent. I was surprised he didn't get drafted. I thought he'd fall because of the Pro Day stuff, but I was surprised he didn't get drafted at all. So I think the Titans got a steal, getting him as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, we were surprised he wasn't drafted either. Let's get it to Carson Beck. Quite the offseason. Obviously leaves Athens, heads to Miami, has a couple cars stolen, has the girlfriend break up with him, but he is cleared to throw the football at him, so at least there's good news there.
Yeah. Obviously, all the off-field drama, that he said, she said, I don't get into that, whether he, the breakup stuff, that's all personal stuff. I'm not, that's for him to work out. The cars getting stolen, actually, the story, if you look into the actual details, is scary as heck. The people who stole the cars, they broke into the house to get the keys. So in the middle of the night, it's scary stuff. So, obviously hope nothing like that happens again. But yeah, like you said, cleared to throw the football. We didn't see him throw it all during spring. He wasn't cleared until after the spring game, but you did see him. He was out there at every practice. He was working to, in what he could do, whether it's handing the football off, whether it was footwork drills. And by all accounts, he spent the spring doing everything he could to get prepared, whether that's, taking mental reps and watching plays, breaking down film, working with the offensive coaches and the staff. So by all accounts, he did everything he could. Whether that leads to some rust heading into fall camp and maybe into, the season opener against Notre Dame kind of remains to be seen, but he's throwing now. He's able to kind of work with the player-led practices and everything. So hopefully he's able to kind of catch up and, kind of go through an accelerated course in the summer and into the fall.
Adam, when we're talking about the defensive side of the ball, because that was obviously a big issue this last year, and one of the biggest moves they did make to try and help that was the hiring of Corey Heatherman out of Minnesota. We all know what kind of he did over there, but tell us a little bit about camp, how that defense is looking, and some of the other moves that were made to hopefully improve that side of the ball.
Yeah, totally overhauled defense. I mean, first off, they shake up the staff. The entire defensive staff, with the exception of Jason Taylor, is gone. Jason Taylor returned, but they brought in, a new defensive line coach, obviously new DC who's coaching the linebackers, new secondary coaches. So entire shakeup there. And then they overhauled the secondary, which was the biggest problem. They did not have nearly enough quality depth last year in the secondary. So when a couple guys got banged up or got hurt, they were hard up on trying to find quality corners, and it bit them in the end. You watched the Syracuse game. Kyle McCord kind of tore apart that defense and tore apart that secondary. So they brought in a wave of new defensive backs. Xavier Lucas is a standout one. He's a South Florida kid. Spent a season at Wisconsin, and they did not want to let him go, but he ended up in Miami anyway. He was probably the standout in the spring. Really fast cornerback. Very good chance he ends up starting this year opposite maybe Damari Brown or O.J. Frederique. Then they brought in some other transfers, Ethan O'Connor from Washington State and Charles Brantley from Michigan State. I got to make sure I get them right. There's so many transfers that I got to make sure I keep them all right in my head. But those guys were starters at other Michigan State's a Big Ten program. Washington State's a Pac-12 program with whatever you want to consider the Pac-12 now. They were starters at their old school, so they did not come here to sit on the bench. They came to Miami to compete for jobs and to be contributors. They also brought in Zachariah Poyser, who had a great freshman year at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State had a very solid season last year in Conference USA. He was another standout. He's going to be a starting safety for UM this year. So they totally overhauled the secondary. In the first transfer portal, they also added a couple guys to the defense in the spring window in the last couple weeks. Jacoby Thomas, a former Tennessee safety, he's a big one. Will probably come in and compete for a starting safety role in the fall. So they've totally overhauled, particularly the secondary, and I think they expect that to go quickly from a big weakness to a big strength.
You can find him on X at Adam Lichtenstein, and we may sneak in perhaps a hockey question or two. You're also covering the Florida Panthers, if only on the Twitter machine, Adam, as they progress to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's stay with the Canes, though. It's funny, to your point, when you look at the depth chart, or at least how OurLads.com currently has it outlined for Miami, it's all new. It's all transfer, yellow font on the defensive side of the ball. There's still some transfers, to be clear, on the offensive side of the ball for this Miami team. But at the same time, that offensive line is largely intact from a season ago. I think for Carson Beck, who had a rotation of offensive linemen last year because of injury, if that line is able to stay healthy for the Canes, that's obviously a major factor in his development in his sixth season of college ball.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look back at when Cam Ward came to Miami last year, that's a big reason why he wanted to go to Miami, was because they had all these pieces, in particular the offensive line, all set up and ready to, just turn the key. Carson Beck has a similar setup, at least with the offensive line, because they return on the right side. You've got Francis Mauigoa, who I think if he continues to develop the way he has, like, you're talking potential first round, maybe, top 10 or 15 pick, a year from now. He's got that kind of talent and ability. Inez Cooper has been one of the biggest success stories, I think, of Mario Cristobal's tenure at UM so far. This is a guy who, was at the bottom of their class when he came in, and was a 3-star guy, weighed close to 400 pounds. They just plucked him out of Alabama, and next thing you know, he's the starting right guard, and he's been entrenched there for the last 3 years. So that's maybe even more of a success story than Francis Mauigoa, who came in with that 5-star pedigree. So the right side of the line, that's all set. They bring in James Brockermeyer. It's the third straight year they've brought in the transfer center, and they had success the last 2 years with Matt Lee, who's in the NFL now. Zach Carpenter had a solid season last year. So they're well equipped to bring in a new guy to kind of be that leader on the offensive line, kind of run things on the O line. And by all accounts, Brockermeyer came in before spring practice even started. They said that he already had the playbook, everything down. Like they raved about his intelligence and his football IQ, the fact that he is so eager to kind of get in there and get everything sorted before they even started practice. The left side is going to be the interesting side of the line because they lose Jalen Rivers, who goes to the NFL. I think he was a 4th or 5th round pick this year. He was, a mainstay on the offensive line the last 3 seasons, playing left tackle, left guard, wherever they needed him. Big time leader.
Local Jacksonville guy too.
Yeah, exactly. Rivers was the one guy when Miami had that embarrassing loss in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like, that was the one player who spoke to the media, like a true leader kind of guy. So and a nice guy too. Best of luck to him in the NFL. But they replaced him with Markel Bell at left tackle, and Bell is one of the biggest humans you'll ever see on a football field. Dude is like 6'9", 340 pounds. Watching him up close in the spring game, even standing next to other massive humans who are offensive linemen, he still like towers over them and just looks like he's a different classification of human being. Like, he's huge. He kind of got in. He's a JUCO transfer. He got in a bit last year when Jalen Rivers got hurt, and he played so well that they actually, instead of just putting Rivers back in at left tackle when he was healthy, they shifted Rivers over to left guard so that they could keep Markel Bell in the starting lineup. So, expect big things from him this year. Left guard will probably be one of two guys, probably either Ryan Rodriguez or Matthew McCoy, both of whom have played. And I think, probably you got to trust, Alex Mirabal and Marcus Ball in offensive line development. So expect them to be probably pretty solid as well.
Adam, in the first 5 games, Notre Dame obviously to start, and then also Florida State not coming off of a great season, but still Mike Norvell has shown in the past that he can revamp the roster quickly. If it's not Carson Beck, if he has any sort of injury setback, what's the plan there at quarterback?
Well, the plan is good luck. They've got that's kind of mean, but it's kind of true. That's why they went out and got Carson Beck, is because they needed a quarterback. You have Emory Williams, who's been in the system now for I think 3 seasons. He started sparingly, started against FSU 2 years ago and against Clemson, got to win against Clemson, but not FSU in the year FSU was really good with Jordan Travis. But I don't know if they fully trust him with the full range of the offense yet. If they did, it would have been an easy transfer, and just easy to Cam Ward's gone, Emory's the next guy up. And they didn't do that. They brought in Carson Beck. So I don't know if they fully trust him to take the reins for a full season. He's probably the number 2 right now. Next in line in terms of just seniority, you have Johnny Anderson, who I think has played only 1 snap in his first season at UM. He's a tall guy, very toolsy, I guess is the right word. So you could see, watching him in practice, he's got the ability. He kind of has to put it all together. The intriguing guy is freshman Luke Nickel, who was just an all-state quarterback in Georgia, led Milton High to, I think, 2 state titles in a row. He showed some flashes in the spring, especially in the spring game, but he still is kind of getting used to the college game. I remember in the beginning of spring, you could tell the game was kind of moving a little too fast for him. That got better as spring progressed, and Shannon Dawson talked about that. But is he ready to be a starter now? I don't know about that. So you got to hope Carson Beck stays healthy.
Adam, before we let you go, what would you say the pressure level on Cristobal is this year? Because we've talked a lot about Mike Norvell, and after he had a ton of players drafted, how things kind of fell apart this last year, and how much can you kind of rely on the portal and hit on the portal. But when it comes down to Miami, what do you think that pressure level is for him this year?
I would say in terms of like absolute pressure where 1 is totally safe and 10 is you're getting fired, he's at a 3.5. I don't think there's a ton of pressure on him. I think there's a segment of the fan base that's annoyed that you had a Cam Ward-led offense, the number 1 player in the draft, the number 1 offense in the country, and you couldn't make the playoffs because your defense fell apart. So there are people who are frustrated with that. But overall, I think, you look at where this program was 4 years ago, 2021, 2020. This is a program that had 1 10-win season in 15 years. This is a program that was pretty mediocre, and they're at the point now where I think they were a playoff contender last year. I think they, assuming Carson Beck is, who he is and, had another solid season, I think they should be a playoff contender and an ACC contender this year. So that's a big step in where the program has come and where the program is now from where it was when Mario Cristobal got here. So I don't think there's existential pressure on him that, if you don't have a successful season, you're going to be out. But I think, if the season doesn't go well, if they win 7 or 8 games, people will start getting frustrated and maybe start building to that point. But this year, I don't think there's any kind of existential pressure on him. I think just the usual pressure that comes with being a big-time college coach at a program that wants to be successful and has those desires to be successful. So there is that pressure, but I don't think there's any kind of existential, hot seat pressure, at least not yet.
Pressed for time, but I got to ask, after losing 5-4 last night to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Should we be worried? I know there's hockey fans out there in our listening audience. Should we be worried about the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers?
I wouldn't say worried. They came out really slow in the first period last night. They did not look like themselves. And I'm not a hockey expert, but even I'm watching this, and I'm like, the Maple Leafs look more like the Panthers than the Panthers did last night. I think the Panthers had more hits, but every time I looked up, a Maple Leaf player was laying out a Panther. So I wouldn't be worried. I mean, obviously you never want to lose, you don't want to lose the opening series, and the fact that, or lose the opening game of a series, but the fact that they, did fight back, they did nearly, come back and win that game, or at least tie that game. The fact that they had that battle in them, that they played much better in the third period, it should be encouraging. And, the old saying is that, the playoff series doesn't start till a team loses a game at home. So, if they could come out with a split in Toronto, I think that's a perfectly fine result. And then you come back to Sunrise and try to, take the lead in the series.
All right, Adam, well, we really appreciate your time. I know we're already in month 5 of the year, which seems really weird to say because that means football's around the corner for all of us, but we appreciate you as usual.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, I want to talk more about some of the things that he said on the other side, and our highlights are coming up as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
At 1010XL, we don't take sports seriously.
Slant to the corner. You're going to move it back over here to the point. Rock this over here. You got pie like that.
After all, it's just a game.
I need 6 guys to blitz. You got to blitz them.
1010XL.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barry here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
Leon Cersei here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Denny Thompson here. You got to check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Eye & Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you all the latest options like Evo implantable Caliber lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK. Tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision. No hassle, no fuss. You ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates. Keeping the First Coast focused.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 6, 1915, future Baseball Hall of Fame slugger Babe Ruth hits his first MLB home run out of his 714 in a game against the New York Yankees.
Hello, all you Jacksonville sports fans. Don here from Taco Lou. If you're in the mood for some great tacos, cold Dos Equis, and maybe even a sip of some fine tequila, then the Lou is calling your name. Come out to Jack's Beach and experience what many have dubbed the #1 taco in the 904. There are plenty of great taco joints in town, and we're proud to have been around for this long, and we have only you, the fine people of Jacksonville, to thank for helping us grow and become who we are today. Cheers to you, Jacksonville, and thank you from the Lou crew. Taco Lou in Jacksonville Beach.
When
you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
When it comes to your utility bill, JEA wants to help you use less so you can save more. We offer a variety of free programs, like efficiency and irrigation assessments that'll teach you ways to conserve energy and water around your home. Our alerts will let you know when your utility usage has reached a set amount, and our rebates can help you save when upgrading to more efficient appliances and equipment. Find even more ways to save at JEA.com.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
She'll set the field on fire, just cutting across the pasture.
Taylor Dalmia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. We appreciate Adam Lichtenstein from the Sun Sentinel joining us to talk all things Hurricanes. Ladies, I do think that opening game, Notre Dame at Miami, and Taylor, certainly you know all about it. Notre Dame certainly finding its quarterback, but Carson Beck hopefully will be fully healthy. He has been cleared to throw the football. His timeline was actually a little accelerated from DJ Lagway's, which is fascinating because of the difference in the injury. But that game has to be circled on Mario Cristobal's calendar.
And yet, Taylor, remind the Heeligans, you just Googled Miami quarterback. And what came up?
If you go to, you literally just search. Well, I actually was looking at Cristobal because I was looking at other things. But one of the first articles that pop up says, who will be the starting quarterback for Miami this year?
I mean,
but
they wanted to be Carson Beck, clearly.
Yeah.
That all signs, all $4 million.
You heard Adam. He said if it's not Carson Beck,
which I like Emory Williams.
Emory Jones.
I always want to say Emory Jones. Now that there's the quarterback, the offensive lineman, I really liked Emory Williams when he did play, but he did suffer an injury, I feel like a shoulder one game, and so that's why he didn't get to continue starting.
Yeah, and look, I've said this on here before. You know, Carson Beck being from here, going to manager, I cheer for him. But there were moments last year, even when he was healthy, that I just didn't see the same Carson Beck that I had seen previous years. It just looked like, I don't know if it was uncomfortable in the pocket. It was just certain mistakes that you didn't see. He had a stretch of games where he was throwing a pick every single game, and that was something you didn't see from him normally. So I'm interested to see how this offense looks if he's ready week one, like how quickly they can get him ready, how quickly he can be out there starting, because I was making jokes in the playoffs that I wish Carson Beck was playing in that Georgia game because I I thought that Notre Dame could beat him easier than they could
Gunnar
Stockton.
Who's super athletic. By the way, you're cheering for Carson Beck. I do wonder how
She
Georgia...
did go to Mandarin, don't forget.
No, but I mean, I wonder how Georgia fans feel.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I talked to some over the weekend, and they're like, I'm not rooting at all for Carson Beck. And that has nothing to do with what he did or didn't do at Georgia. It's the fact that he left Georgia.
Well, and that's part of this world. We do that in the NFL when a player goes from your team, especially to like a division rival. But in general, when they go somewhere else, most times you're not like, yeah, I want this guy. There's certain ones, like people cheer for Gardner Minshew no matter where he goes. But if it was like, if Trayvon Walker didn't want to re-sign here and go somewhere else, I don't think people would be like, oh yeah, we want Trayvon to be so good. You kind of have this thing where you're like, no, that was our guy, and I don't want him to be good when he's somewhere else.
I mean, we like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, but no Jags
I hope
fans
you
are going
suck
to
this
be
year.
rooting for them. Yeah, no offense, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah, so it will be interesting if he's ready week 1, how well he has grasped that offense, because it obviously is a new offense in general. He's coming off an injury, and he hasn't played in quite a bit. He already was kind of struggling before that injury. So how ready can Cristobal and company have him for week 1 against a defense who, yes, has lost an Xavier Watson, a Riley Mills, and a Benjamin Morrison. So Notre Dame, honestly, is going to be half of their offense and defense are going to be new players. But when it comes, and especially defensively, and that's the fascinating thing about week 1 in college football too. It's just it's wild to watch week 1 when it comes to especially teams who are getting a lot of players drafted and losing them in that sense. But Notre Dame has a big quarterback question mark also. So who even knows who's starting week 1 there?
You'd think that Beck would be able to pick up the offense quickly, considering he's been in 2 different offenses with Georgia as far as 2 different offensive coordinators. He was there for 5 years, and this is his 6th year in college football. You'd think if anyone could master it, it would be Carson Beck. But I think there were questions early on, Mia, with Beck at Georgia that he maybe wasn't fully grasping the playbook.
Yes, and I think there were some maturity questions as well, and I would argue that those
Did Miami help that?
Are we regressing a little bit here? I would tell you that there was a sense of, I think more so the reality that Stetson Bennett, for his athletic limitations, had been on campus, grasped the playbook, and wanted it. Mm-hmm. And not that Carson didn't want it, but Carson was still very young in his college career. People forget when JT Daniels, I mean, that feels like 10,000 years ago. When JT Daniels goes down with an injury and everyone's looking around like, okay, it's going to be Carson against UAB.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Stetson emerges from the pack. And I think a big reason for that was because, which is ironic given the fact that Stetson had to take a year off from the NFL for personal reasons.
Yeah.
I think that the maturity level, the grasp of the playbook, and just that dog in him was more present in the former walk-on than it was Carson Beck. And that's, I think, been another knock on him throughout his college career.
Yeah, not having that extra umph.
Yeah, you have to work harder as a walk-on to be able to even make the team. And so Stetson Bennett is a guy, I think, honestly, he was overlooked a lot for what he was able to do. And Beck came in as a 5-star. Remember, if you go back, Carson Beck was originally going to go to Florida and play baseball. Like, that's how talented his arm is. And eventually decided he wanted to play football at Georgia. And I think he made the right decision for himself. He just was able to stay in school longer or not stay in school, but he was able to stay the backup longer than a lot of us expected. But that to me, what's going to happen with Miami with a second consecutive transfer quarterback is fascinating. And certainly, like you said, who's the quarterback for Notre Dame too. And then you skip the Bethune-Cookman USF games. I think Georgia wins those. Miami wins those. And then you get to Florida. Miami-Florida this year, it looks a lot different than Miami-Florida, I think, looked last year.
Yeah, it'll be, and I think the big talking point, and we're going to talk obviously a lot about Carson Beck, but defensively, and that's why I asked that, because it was a massive liability for Miami last year when Cam Ward was able to put up the numbers that he was game by game, and the defense couldn't stop anything. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. I think that's the saying. But when it comes to that, and then we saw Florida's defense just, I feel like, game by game get better and better. So I think that is going to be one of the big storylines, because how well and how improved is this Miami defense going to be, especially when you're going up against a guy like DJ Lagway, who can do a lot of things early on in his career. Now you're heading into year 2, and this is his offense now.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about Mario Cristobal and the pressure. And certainly Adam said, no, there's not really any pressure. There might be some frustrated fans, but it has certainly reached a point, or not reached a point, where they're calling for him to be fired by any means. Miami struggled
for so long.
What if they win 4
games?
Well, if they win 4 games, if
how drastically will that change?
If there is a massive issue at quarterback, let's say that Beck isn't able to play all 12 games, and they do only win 4, then this is a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Talk to Mike Norvell about how quickly you could go. Well, first Mike Norvell was on the hot seat when they weren't winning early on in his tenure. Then all of a sudden, 2 years in a row, they were elite. And then obviously they had the regression last year, and now he's 100% on the hot seat. And it doesn't really matter your buyout. If the fans want you fired, they will somehow, some way find the money, and you'll be fired.
Even if it's a quarterback problem. And that's what, if obviously last year for Florida State, it was that. So if that is the case where Carson Beck isn't the Carson Beck that we've seen, or he gets injured and they're trying to figure out this quarterback game, how much is that going to be put on Mario Cristobal? Because I think we had that conversation a lot with Mike Norvell last year, where there were moments early on where you're like, okay, well, DJ Uiagalelei is just not it. But then it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, they also can't run the ball, and everything that they were supposed to do in the trenches wasn't playing out. So there are going to be a lot of things. I think that if Carson Beck gets hurt, maybe Cristobal will get a little bit of a leash. But if it just ends up not working out, I'm wondering how quickly people will turn on him.
But I mean, as the head coach, it's your job to find the next quarterback. Yeah. Whether you recruit them out of high school and develop them, or whether you find them in the transfer portal, and that's obviously the most important position on the field. So if you fail at that, you're still going to be liable. We will talk Florida State tomorrow with Ira Schofel. That is going to be a fascinating conversation because, like we mentioned, the roster looks so incredibly different, which Florida State fans are thrilled that the roster looks so incredibly different.
It's like us here. We're like, yes, it's a different roster.
Although Gus Malzahn, I mean, there's a lot of UCF fans listening right now that are like, is that actually going to be an improvement?
Right, and same with Georgia fans, by the way. Mike Bobo has certainly reached the ire of a lot of fans there in Athens as well. All right, when we come back, we will get to our highlights. We also have a giveaway, so keep it right here on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
Brunell under center. He'll take the snap and drop back to throw. Pressure coming. He's jumping out to the near side. Pump action, cuts across the 50. Breaks a tackle at the 45. He's at the 40. Mark Brunell running to the far sideline. Turns the corner, 35-30. Down to the 25. An inside move, leaping for the 21. Mark Brunell with a masterful run.
Home of the Jaguars. 1010XL.
Lauren Brooks here. It's the Cruise in a Summer event at Hodges Mazda at the Avenues. For a limited time, get up to $5,000 off a new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred and receive a free 5-day cruise for 2 with your purchase. With off-road capability and this special offer, your summer adventure starts now. Hurry, 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred models are in limited supply at Hodges Mazda. Offer valid on new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred only. MSRP $32,564. Must trade in a vehicle and finance through dealer to qualify for discount. Cruise and vehicle availability limited. Travel taxes and fees additional. See dealer for details.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through May 31st. Financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484. UniversalRoof.com.
Hey, Hicken here. So much of what makes us a family takes place in our homes. That's where Zero Res comes in. I love Zero Res, and this month get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet and air duct cleaner with May Mayhem. A 3-room special starting at $149 plus the 4th room is free. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res 28757 or go online at ZeroResJacksonville.com and say you want the Hicken special. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
I open the door and take you inside the locker room to get you closer to the field, the players and coaches you care about.
Get a look at Hayes' blog on 1010XL.com.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reese Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you need help with any plumbing, septic, or AC issue, just give us a call and relax. We'll send one of our first-round draft picks to tackle your problems today. DuckDuckRooter.com. That's DuckDuckRooter.com.
Meet our newest players. 1010XL Draft Profiles are brought to you by Wicca Candle Bar.
If speed was a need in Jacksonville, they revved up their engines when selecting Bashal Tootin in day 3 of the draft from Virginia Tech. Tootin ran a 4.340 at the Combine, which would be marked as the fastest amongst the class. Many awe at his explosiveness despite his frame, as well as his potential to become a starting caliber running back with 3-down value.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
Prosser here. It's a great time to sell your home, and I got just the people to sell it for you. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down, activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though. Hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize your hassle, that's the key. And I've been telling you who those experts are. Are you listening? I recommend Chad and Sandy Newman. Go to chadandsandy.com, the local real estate experts you can trust with the sale of your home. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. So whatever problems you think you have, I've got you this promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. There you go. Simple as that. Christopher on Anastasia Island. My home was too big for my needs. I wanted someplace smaller and easier to manage. I got multiple offers and sold in 3 days with Chad and Sandy. You can too at chadandsandy.com or 904-414-6200.
What? All the budget has to be used now? And we can use all the media buy?
Javier's marketing firm just got its dream funding.
Okay, ideas. Bobbleheads. No. T-shirt cannon. I seriously need some help here.
He needs to find marketing managers who are worth every dollar.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsoring a job on Indeed gives it a visibility boost so you can hire faster. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Mother's Day is coming. Don't run out of time. Small Cakes has sweets she'll love from you and the kids. Mention 1010XL to get 10% off now until Wednesday. Cupcakes to brownies to ice cream. Customize it so it's unique to mom. SmallCakesJacks.com.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update brought to you by Clay Solar Installation Partners. Last night, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs got underway, with the Leafs narrowly escaping the Panthers' valiant attempt at a comeback. Leafs right winger William Nylander got the Leafs engine running early with a goal 33 seconds into the first period, his first of his 2-goal night. The Leafs seemed to have the game on ice, up 4-1 at the start of the third, but with just minutes left in the final period, the Panthers cut the lead to 1, down 5-4, thanks to a man-up Sam Bennett goal with 2 minutes left. The Leafs found a way to hold on as time expired, taking Game 1 up in Toronto 5-4. Although not the result the Panthers wanted, their fight and physicality showed this series is going to be a war as they get ready for Game 2 tomorrow at 7. It's 82 degrees at 12:57. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, breaking news.
Yes, as we begin this 1 o'clock hour, as I teased on the timeline, for those of you on X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it these days, last night, Brian Zanders, the Florida State alum, former general manager for the Denver Broncos, spent the last 8 seasons as a senior personnel executive, one of those OTT, over-the-top personnel officials for Les Snead and James Gladstone. will be joining your Jacksonville Jaguars front office. I am still working to find out exactly what his title will be. Our friend Jonathan Jones at CBS Sports says that it is official, though. He is officially joining the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I would imagine that he's happy to come back to the Sunshine State, even though certainly working with the Broncos and the Rams, those are good places. But yeah, since he played football at Florida State, come on back to the Sunshine State. And
I'll do you one better, Lauren. He already has had a house in Ponte Vedra Beach for the last however many years.
Vedra Beach is a good spot.
That's a little easy transition then. I did just by a quick look. It's interesting because when he was with, he was the general manager for the Broncos in 2009 to 2012. And it said that during his tenure as the Broncos general manager, he engineered the personnel transformation where 85% of the team's roster was overhauled after the 2008 NFL season. And those acquisitions ranked second pro personnel. They have like the AV ranking. So second in pro personnel and sixth in college scouting that year. So some good stuff coming from there too.
Yeah. I also think, ladies, that moving forward, all Jaguars fans will be locked into the Senior Bowl if they haven't been already, because obviously 8 of the 9 guys that the Jaguars drafted played in the Senior Bowl. So that is going to be appointment television, even though a lot of certainly people who like to follow it were already locked into the Senior Bowl. Now it's going to give them, I think, an added thing to it. All right, time for our giveaway. We have $100 to Beaches Dermatology plus a Kuhn flower floral arrangement. This is all part of the 1010XL Mother's Day gift guide. Head to 1010XL.com for more great gift ideas. By the way, shout out to Beaches Dermatology. I went there last week. They are amazing. So make sure if you have any sort of skin issues or if you just want to get your skin checked out for skin cancer, you go to Beaches Dermatology. Call number 4-641-1010 and RJ will award you that awesome gift package from us here at 1010XL. All right, by the way, the Jaguars do take the field on Saturday, and fans will be able to go.
I know.
To go see Travis Hunter. What kind of a crowd are we expecting?
Oh, I think it's going to be loaded. There's no way that people in this city, in general, like football comes, any glimpse of football, people are pumped here. But being able to go see Travis Hunter, and even in the limited capacity that you can, people would line up at Ale House to go see Travis Hunter, and definitely will at camp to see kind of what things start to look like with him and how much I kind of jokingly asked Kai Stevens yesterday about, how much are we going to, how much is Coach Camp and Liam Cohen going to fight over who gets more of Travis Hunter? And the fans are going to want to be the same way.
Oh, for sure. And so, yeah, getting to see him for the first time as far as being in a Jaguars uniform, will he still have his draft hat on? Because I feel like, yes,
he probably will.
I think he sleeps in it.
Yeah, because they're not going to be in helmets, I wouldn't imagine, right? T-shirts and shorts. And so, yeah, he might still be wearing the draft hat, which I love. By the way, Travis Hunter is the only player that the Jaguars drafted that didn't participate in the Senior Bowl. I said 8 out of 9, but just wanted to give that information.
I don't think he had to.
I don't think he did either. All right, let's get into this week's highlights. RJ, take it away.
Now, here's highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
Ty Evans Grand Salami versus South Carolina.
Evans launches that to center field. Hall is back. Goodbye. A grand slam for Ty Evans. His second home run of the season. Tack on 4 more for the Gators.
Sorry to Jim and the Heeligans. You're all going to know whose highlight this one is.
Here's Clark. Wow! You from beyond the logo! And a little point afterwards. I mean, come on.
Carson Kelly turning into prime Barry Bonds isn't talked about enough.
Carson Kelly out to left. It is back. It is gone. The spring of Carson Kelly continues. Home run number 8. Solo shot. 5-2 Cubs.
They're saying that's a real possibility.
Sorry, Jim is right. I think all of ours were obvious, but that's okay. Sometimes you go with what you love, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday with the Florida baseball team now having won 4 straight series. They looked like they were left for dead, but when you've got guys that can swing the bat, that's right, they are coming. Ty Evans hit a grand slam. That was on Friday night after the rain delay, the 3-hour rain delay, mind you. Florida went on to win 9-4. The ball game was tied, by the way, when he hit the grand slam. It was 4-4 up there in South Carolina. Carolina. And then also Brendan Lawson hit a grand slam in the first game of the doubleheader on Sunday. Florida went on to win that game 22-3. A little bit embarrassing there for those Gamecocks. But yeah, Kevin O'Sullivan has his team playing well. And a couple of guys, pitchers specifically, have returned from injury, which is huge.
That's what I was about to say. I wonder what Kevin O'Sullivan says to the kids around this time of year, because he's like, okay, it's time to figure it, get it together now.
I mean, I think he's the same personality all the time, whether they're winning or losing. I think he's a harsh type of coach, right? He's in your face and that kind of stuff. But in the beginning of the season, it just didn't work last year or this year.
I'm trying to come up with a comp between in the NBA playoffs with the Golden State Warriors, now the 6th seed or whatever they are, having to play in the play-in tournament. Or we were just talking with Max about Notre Dame lacrosse, the defending national champions. They're unseeded in the lacrosse bracket that gets kicked underway this weekend. And you're just like, well, it doesn't matter that they're seated low because they're going to be there in the end. And you're just going to be like, how do they keep getting away with this? But they
championship
do.
DNA. And that's the mark certainly of Florida baseball, even more than Florida basketball right now with Todd Golden and what's going on there, even certainly more than Florida football right now. You expect to be in Omaha, and that's an accomplishment that he's been able to do more times than not, which is wild. We talked a little bit yesterday also, Mia, about Caitlin Clark and what she was able to do. I will say I thought for sure you were going to have a Knicks highlight.
No, I had already sent the Caitlin Clark one yesterday.
It was already sent.
Yeah, I already sent it yesterday. As soon as you texted us and said, send your highlights, I sent it right then and there. Yes, a 1.3 million person viewing audience as the Fever beat Brazil in an exhibition game by 64. For those of you who are keeping score, 1.3 million people watching exceeds all but 2 NBA preseason games dating back to 2010. Prior to Caitlin Clark being drafted last year, no WNBA telecast of any kind, preseason or regular season, had attracted 1 million viewers since 2008, and now it is a regularity. As much as I enjoy the Nova Knicks and I love Jalen Brunson, I think he's one of the most clutch players in all of sports right now. This is someone who exceeds that. And I tweeted it out earlier over the weekend. This idea of, and I said, it's not a knock on Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning or Travis. It's just the reality of, I think, outside of Tiger Woods and Serena Williams, and perhaps because part of the prerequisite to use the word is that you have to elevate your sport into the mainstream conscious, we have not seen something like this. And so I almost want to come up with a different word than generational, because I think it's unfair to those other athletes who have been dubbed with that word, unfairly or not, when she is doing what she is doing and elevating a sport each and every night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's an adjective that we could come up with. I think obviously you're not comparing Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods or Serena Williams yet.
Oh, no, I am. Okay. She's there.
I would say popularity, yes, but we have to see the course of the career be as good as what we saw with Tiger. No, popularity, yes.
NBA has a little rough with the October start for preseason when you're right in the midst of college football and pro football.
I'm saying she has to become a Hall of Fame
the preseason
athlete.
Just the NBA.
Oh, the NBA, yeah.
I'm saying that's why I don't think.
Oh, yeah. That's why those numbers. Yeah. I agree with that. But also you go back to 18.5, which was the total number for the national championship.
And that's why I'm not trying to take it away. I'm just when you start playing a preseason NBA game in October 4th,
exactly.
It's a little.
What I'm saying is I don't think we can crown her as the second greatest, because I'll say Tiger's the second greatest golfer of all time. Some would say the greatest golfer of all time if you weigh the majors. Jack Nicklaus is the greatest, but Tiger is the second greatest golfer of all time, first or second, either way. Serena Williams is bar none the greatest female tennis player ever. So before we say Caitlin has reached their level as far as the career, she has to be the first or second best basketball player in the next 10 plus years, because both of their Tiger and Serena's careers.
You don't think Tiger Woods is the best golfer of all time? I think he elevated the sport at a rate that we've never seen before.
I'm just saying I didn't watch Jack Nicklaus play golf. So for the people that did, they would tell you with the amount of majors that he won versus the amount of majors Tiger won that he was the greatest. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying before we can put her in that conversation, the part of the career, the Hall of Fame conversation, one of the best to ever play the sport, but popularity, she's there. I just don't think we can do the second part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fine. We have a hooligan who's texting in and is all mad too, so it's fine. I'll let you guys.
I'm
see.
mad
I'll
at
keep the
you
receipts.
for saying
that
she's there already.
That I dared to put her in the Tiger Woods conversation. Okay, go ahead. That's fine.
I mean, she might become the greatest female basketball player to ever play the sport. I'm not saying she won't. I'm just saying before we can put her in Tom Brady. But
that's where, again, this word generational, like that was like that was the philosophical reflection I was having of like this word that unfairly or not gets put on people all the time.
Yeah.
And the reality is there's only a handful of people that you can put in that conversation.
Well, and especially when you tag that word onto somebody, and we've talked about it here, when you tag that word onto somebody, it automatically puts expectations at the highest possible. And so it almost feels like they can never reach that.
Correct.
Unless you are
Andrew Luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he retired, so we'll never know if he was going to win a Super Bowl.
But I never watched Andrew Luck, and I was like, oh my God, like,
that is amazing.
Changing the sport, you know? Like that's the thing. When I watch Tiger Woods, when I watch Serena Williams, when I watch Caitlin Clark, I say this is changing the sport and the trajectory of it, if only in terms of eyeballs and interest in the game.
Yeah, Steph Curry, I think, is in
Steph
that
changed the game, definitely. I was about to say that. Steph Curry, and obviously the conversation now is Patrick Mahomes. The difference is Patrick Mahomes didn't come into the league where people were saying he was generational, but now he's set that standard of what generational could look like.
I totally agree. And Patrick Mahomes is absolutely in the conversation of not necessarily changing the entire sport, but changing the way that the quarterback played. We see, in my opinion, more athletic, dual threat NFL quarterbacks because of Patrick Mahomes. He's not the only one. Lamar Jackson certainly came around the same time. But the way that Patrick Mahomes has been able to do everything he's been able to do and win all the Super Bowls, that showed other NFL teams you don't have to have that pocket passer only, that statue. The way that Tom Brady played the game and Peyton Manning played the game.
Almost doesn't work now.
Doesn't work as much now. Yeah, you want the Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen and these running style quarterbacks. And I think Patrick Mahomes showed the league that it's okay to have one of those. All right, let's get it to the Cubs. Taylor Dahl, one of the best teams in all of baseball.
Oh my gosh.
22 wins.
They're so fun to watch right now. And it's crazy because they've played one team that has not had a winning record this season, and that was the Pirates. Sorry, Frank. But everybody, they've played the Dodgers multiple times. Obviously, they played the Padres. They've just played the Giants, who is now playing as one of the best teams in baseball.
Both have 22
wins. The best team, And so I do a little surprising in that area. And then now you have the Mets coming up. You just came off the Phillies. It's just the way that they are playing right now, and they're scoring a ton of runs. That's benefiting them because they're also missing. Shota Imanaga just hit IL. We already lost Justin Steele, literally the first game that he played. So you're down your two best pitchers, and you can put up 9-10 runs every single. I don't know how long that can last. Like, how long can you count on your offense being able to do that? But that's the highlight I played was Carson Kelly. He's the catcher, and he's been insane this year. He has 8 home runs this year, only 7 strikeouts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's really impressive.
He's been playing lights out every time Carson Kelly's in the game. He's a game changer. And obviously, I've talked a ton about Pete Crow Armstrong. Right. I've talked a ton about some of these other guys that just make huge plays. And Ian Happ, who I think people don't talk about nearly enough. He's a Gold Glover multiple years, and no one talks about Ian Happ the way they should, I think. But it's a very, very fun team to watch right now. And I love baseball.
I love baseball too, which is why we're going to the Jumbo Shrimp tonight.
Oh, fun.
Super excited about that, taking on the Syracuse Mets.
You didn't want to go to Tequila and...
or did you get the package?
I did not. So the difference was $25 a ticket for the regular tickets, $50 a ticket for the higher tickets, the better tickets, really, tacos and tequila tickets. And I just weighed it, and Brian and I aren't tequila drinkers. Yeah. So if it was a wine and taco night, then I probably would have splurged. But in this regard, I decided not to. But the bad part is I'll be missing the Phillies taking on the Rays in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field. Zach Wheeler on the mound going up against Drew Rasmussen. Those are two really good pitchers. Yeah. So I think it'll be a fun matchup. But I might have to have it on my phone there at the Jumbo Shrimp. We can always, multitask there. Absolutely.
I've multitasked many times.
Right. And that's the beautiful part about baseball is you can watch 2 games at once.
We were multitasking at Graham Marsh's wedding, watching UFC at the table.
That we were. I also loved the images, and I know both ended one ended in a victory, and the other ended, I'm doing the math. Yeah, it was defeat because the Avalanche lost. Mm-hmm. But I saw people that were at the Rockies game, but they had both the Avalanche and the Nuggets and on 2 different phones pulled up.
Even at the Nuggets game, they put the Avalanche game on the big screen or the video board in the central area. Yeah, and so that way people could watch both.
It is. So when I go back to when the Cubs won the World Series, I went up there. So I was up there for games 3, 4, 5. The Cubs were down, obviously, and it was that elimination game. And I was so sad. I thought they were going to get eliminated. was like, here we go again. The Cubs are coming. So we went to a Blackhawks game. At the Blackhawks game, they had the World Series on, and like literally, it was also Marian Hossa's 500th goal ceremony. So that was a special moment. So we wanted to go for something else too. But it was probably like halfway through the second period, and everyone was like, the Cubs are up 1-0, and they may actually win. And everybody just started pouring out of the poor Blackhawks were like, what the heck? Look what's going on. And they were coming off of a Stanley Cup in 2015, so it was very close to that. But it was one of those moments where it's like, that's how much that city embraces everything, because you're watching a hockey game, but all the World Series is up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, you just have to prioritize at some points in time. All right, we will give you the Terminex Pest of the Day. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
That's why I came up with this little beauty.
What is it?
It's
1010XL.
Mia here for Closets by Design. With Mother's Day around the corner, I've been thinking about how much energy goes into caring for everyone else and how little time we take to create spaces that care for us. Most people start and end their day in their closet, so shouldn't that space feel calm, organized, like a little moment of luxury? That's why Closets by Design specializes in custom solutions for every lifestyle and budget, because moms deserve to feel taken care of too. Call them to schedule your free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. Visit closetsbydesign.com or give them a call at 1-800-293-3744.
I've been having knee problems for probably 6 months, and my knee was getting worse, and I had heard about Southeast Orthopedics on the radio, and I gave them a call. They got me right in. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. It was painless, and it's been doing fantastic. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
John Haney here for Clearwater. And I know I'm always joking around, but this is a serious time for our coach and our team. So if you need a sprinkler system, a French drain, or seamless gutters, and you live in Duval County, then give us a call today.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. And drainage too.
Duval.
ClearwaterJags.com.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm 1010XL's Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my takes and weekend updates on YouTube and Facebook. Musings with the media mogul. That's right, motivated by Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the QU crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. COYLE Jacks.com.
Want a simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
You're
yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, you have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits. You have the right to choose your own doctor, too. And I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation, the auto accident experts.
Hacker here with an opportunity. Drop 40 pounds by the 4th. You can do it. I dropped my first 40 in 6 weeks. Hayes did it, Dempsey, Ballou, and thousands of others have done it. 40 by the 4th with Awaken180weightloss.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World,
simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Tonight, we lie awake. Remember how the coffee made us shake on those long drives for one more long night.
I think everybody can tell who added this song to the playlist. That would be one Taylor Doll. Who are we listening to?
Yeah, this is All Time Low. They've played a few times on this show at this point because I added several All Time Low songs to this playlist.
Love it. Mia O'Brien's here, RJ Saunders as well. I'm Lauren Brooks. You are listening to Helmets and Heels, and it is time now for the Terminex Pest of the Day, as always brought to you by our friends at Terminex. If you have any sort of pest issues, we used to have small ants in the house. Well, Terminex came, and they are completely eradicated. If you have any termite issues, obviously, you want to get those taken care of immediately, and certainly mosquitoes. Right now, mosquitoes are coming out of the woodworks, and so you want to make sure, you want to make sure that Terminex comes and sprays your yard. That will help not just you, but your pet as well. So find them online at terminix.com. All right, RJ's going to play a little clip from Tyreek Hill, and I'll explain why he's the pest of the day after this.
Said, could I rank my top 5 quarterbacks? Lamar, Josh, Pat, obviously. No, this is no order, by the way. Baker Mayfield. And Joe Shiesty, too.
So Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow.
It's because you're not mad about it. Is your issue because he didn't include his own quarterback?
I think you have to include Tua Tagovailoa. He's your quarterback
Tyreek's
right now.
too honest for that.
The fact that he included Baker's a little off the wall, but
It is.
it's also Tyreek.
Yeah.
I mean, the off the wall is like synonymous with who he is. So that one doesn't surprise me.
If Brian Thomas Jr. listed his top 5 quarterbacks and Trevor Lawrence wasn't in it, people in Duval, I feel like, would flip their stuff.
Some would be like, he's right.
And then there's the haters, yes, for sure.
Someone read to it.
Who would be your other? Like, if Baker's not included in that conversation right now at this point in time, who would be your 5?
I'd have a conversation about Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Who Harbaugh recently said he wants to make sure he becomes a Hall of Famer.
But Baker's there with him right now. So it's hard to me, it's valid. It's a valid
last year,
list
by
to
the
me.
way, I would never have had Sam Darnold in that conversation, even though some wanted to elevate him to
Would
that.
you put Goff in it?
I think Goff absolutely deserves to be in it. Yeah. And
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if he included like Jaden Daniels or like some flavor of the month, if I'm being completely honest.
Sure.
Or, I mean, CJ Stroud, obviously the love has been lost for him and Jordan Love to an extent, but knowing the season that Daniels just had akin to CJ Stroud a year ago, I wouldn't have been surprised if his name had been introduced into the conversation.
Like the 4 or the 4? Like, Jalen Hurts. What about
Jalen Hurts was who I was going to say. Super Bowl champion, so you feel kind of obligated there. And then Matthew Stafford, because he is also a former Super Bowl champion. In the twilight of his career, yes, but certainly in the conversation.
Yeah. Did he just get an extension yesterday?
He did.
Okay.
Well, he got one. If you remember,
like a weird
the drama, but they never actually announced the numbers. Kind of like with Gino.
It's $16 million base, $24 million spread over 4 roster bonuses in 2025.
Another name I would introduce, and I know at times he's been maligned, but again, 2 years ago, Dak Prescott finished second in the MVP voting. I know that there were injuries last year, and the Cowboys took a step back. Wouldn't have been surprised if he was included in that conversation for that 5th spot. But ultimately, I think it's some combination of, I think at this point you have to give the nod to Jalen Hurts because he is the Super Bowl champion, even if you want to argue that his defense and his run game got Philly to that title. But I would introduce him into the conversation, Herbert, Stafford, Dak, and then there might be the argument for some of the young guns.
I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, when healthy, has been a lights-out passer, completing a really high percentage of his passes. And
like 70%.
Yeah, like that to me is a really good quarterback as long as he can, get the protection he needs and if he's smart with, avoiding the sacks and the pressure. I just thought it was hilarious that Tyreek Hill doesn't least include him.
I wonder what Tua was like, dang.
Right. And I know Tyreek
but I wonder how
wanted
much,
to leave Miami, so maybe there's that.
And I wonder how much Tyreek thinks it's him. Like, I'm the reason that Tua's been able to do what Tua. Not saying he would ever say that, out loud.
Well, he honestly, knowing Tyreek Hill, he might be like, look, it's the cheetah, like referring to himself in the third person.
You're welcome, Tua.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think if we are not having a conversation about Trevor Lawrence being in or around the top 5 a year from now, then I do wonder, has Liam Cohen, Grant Udinski, and that offensive staff, have they done their jobs?
Or have they done their job and it's still not there? That's the counter argument. Because if you feel at this juncture that it's coaching and that it's not being put in an opportunity to succeed, and you are put in that opportunity, and the numbers still aren't there, then what is the conversation?
Yeah, I guess we're always going to point back to 2022 because in 2022, when Trevor was healthy and the Jaguars ran the ball well, look at what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They made it to Kansas City to play the Kansas City Chiefs and were on the brink of defeating them in the Elite Eight of the NFL.
And in 2017, the Jaguars ran the ball really well, and Blake Bortles was a playoff hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be a year, and that's why I've been so adamant about fixing the offensive line and not being happy with it yet, because I'm tired of doing this conversation next year. If we're having the same conversation next year, Trevor Lawrence is in year 6 of his NFL career, and you're still having the same conversation. You don't want to keep doing this forever, and I get it. It's not going to be an overnight change. So it's like, okay, these new coaches, all of a sudden, you're expecting to win 12, 13 games, and especially with a lot of new pieces that are on this roster, too. I don't know how quickly we can expect that to happen. But I do think that by the end of this year, you need to at least see a more consistent Trevor. And that's what I've kind of preached, is consistency. We've seen splashes. Yeah, you've seen the end of 2022. Some people would argue you got really lucky in a lot of the end of 2022 and in the postseason. Technically should have probably not even made it, because if there wasn't a fumble at the end of the Titans game, then you're not.
But 2023, when he was healthy, the beginning of that season,
beginning, and I don't even think the offense was scared. Like, to me, it was okay. Like, there was a lot of good moments, but I don't think there was ever, and I remember specifically saying this is cool. You can play 2 quarters of football. I've never seen 4 quarters of football other than the end of the 2022 season from Trevor.
And by the way, I don't want to, I'm just giving some counter arguments here to Lauren, because I do have pulled up on my tabs that I want to watch later. I've seen a couple of you guys on X in Hooligan Nation.
Of Tua?
No, not of Tua. No, actually, ironically, it's Jaguars tape of Trevor Lawrence against Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, and the number of drops, because I forgot how many drops.
And there are a ton of drops.
Yeah, and so I'm not trying to write off 16, folks. I believe in 16. I'm just here to present the counter argument and the reality dose of, hey, if we're still having this conversation, then what?
Well, and that's what there has been a lot of drops, and that's been a topic here for a long time. There's been a lot of fumbles, and Trevor's been a part of those, a lot of fumbles. So I think that is another thing you have to talk about. Trevor also hasn't been able to stay healthy. Now, that's another thing we're going to have to start talking about. You also compare the other teams that always, like in the last few years, that have had a lot of drops, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're still winning a lot of games. So at some point, you have to stop making all of the excuses for him and say, like, if you are that quarterback, then you will elevate things around you. And I think this year you have to see a little bit of that.
If there's not a huge improvement, then I really don't know the direction that this franchise is headed in. If Trevor is a 60% completion passer, if he's got 14 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, or even 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, if those are the stats, and a year from now, I really have no idea what the backup plan is going to be at quarterback? Do you try and draft a guy because you're once again near the top of the draft and then have competition at that position? I don't believe, by the way, that Tony Baselli, the executive GM, that Liam Cohen, that James Gladstone, head coach and general manager respectively, I don't think this is a conversation that they're having
right now. Yeah.
No.
I mean, they took the job.
And they fully believe
they
in
think that Trevor is a piece of how they can build, of course. And that's what, Liam Cohen, that there's a reason that he has been adamant about, like, hey, let's fix the line and fix the run game, because I truly feel like he believes if that happens that you're going to see a high-end elite Trevor Lawrence. And I think there's indications of that all over. When I talk to people outside of Jacksonville, when it comes to like media, fans I think are a little haterish when it comes to that, just because they don't watch games every single Jags game or any Jags game.
I think it goes back to that conversation about generational.
Yeah,
and people
that's
around
what I'm
the
saying.
league.
You get tagged on that, and your standards are already way high.
Yep.
But I do, when you talk to a lot of the media, and we've had many people on the show, and the first thing they say is, I still have a lot of faith in Trevor Lawrence. Like they all say, like he has every tool you can. It's just we talked about that love for football and how much can he get. How much can that take those tools that we know he naturally has and make it into one of the better quarterbacks in the league? And we just haven't seen it in full yet.
And now he has Brian Thomas Jr., a bona fide number one wide receiver, and Travis Hunter, who we think will be a bona fide NFL receiver. And go out there and, again, drafted 2 running backs. So you've got at least 4, if not 5 running backs that you feel confident in. If they can all have ball security, right, like as a priority, and Trevor certainly cuts down on the turnovers, both interceptions and fumbles. Like, I don't think the offense has to be elite for this team to win the AFC South. I think the offense has to be efficient for this team to win the AFC South, and the defense can't be atrocious.
Philosophically, that's where the change needs to occur, because I think for the better part of the last 5 years, whether it be here in Jacksonville or beyond, this notion of, well, you have Trevor, he can just carry you. That's not reality, because if you have nothing else around him, and there's no scheme, there are weapons, but maybe they're not the best weapons to pair with his skill set.
You needed guys that could get down the field and create separation and catch the ball.
Also, we forget the year that Clemson won the national title, they had here she goes, generational defense with Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence and company, that were the alpha leaders of that team, let alone a top 10 defense in college football.
They also had field stretchers. That is Trevor Lawrence's game. He has a beautiful deep ball. So allow him to look up,
utilize
with
that,
protection, right, and find those guys.
I brought up the defense just to say, you need a defense too. Clearly, he had his best years in college when there were successful operations around him.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that when you talk about any circumstance of a quarterback that's been successful, especially in the beginning, and we're getting to that point where we're not at the beginning anymore, and that's where people start to hesitate. Yeah, and so when you talk about I keep going back to Joe Burrow because that just keeps being the one that flashes in my head of yes, he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but they couldn't run the ball. He had a terrible offensive line. He had no defense, and he's still throwing 40 touchdowns. So people start to expect, if you're going to tag this generational word on him, then he needs to be able to not have an elite defense and not have 2 number 1 wide receivers and not have to run the ball to an extent. But at some point also, he hasn't been able to be developed right either, because he's never had that transition in the beginning to be able to be comfortable and really let things slow down. It's always been let's play catch up, let me play hero. And then now 5 years in, you finally feel like you have surroundings around him to where things can maybe settle a little bit and simplify. We use that word. It's not a negative word. That's what they had to do even with Josh Allen. And we've talked about that a lot too.
Who had the 2 best defenses in the NFL? Not maybe statistically, but just looking at it big picture. The Chiefs and the Eagles.
Yeah.
Now,
those
with
the
that
teams
said,
in the Super Bowl.
With that said, as 610 on the text line just pointed out, Patrick Mahomes, generational, special, elite, couldn't win a Super Bowl this year. Couldn't protect him in the Super Bowl against that defense.
Yeah.
Point being, you can't just expect the quarterback to walk in and...
But he made it there.
Correct.
With that line.
Correct.
Are we close to that?
How close are we to the Super Bowl? Is because of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe Burrow, the one year the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl, unfortunately
was terrible.
lost
He
the
got
Rams.
sacked 40 something
but still
times.
made it to the Super Bowl, which is what's impressive. All right, we've got one segment to go. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Take the low line and make a slide job to the front row.
Right around the bottom, all the way through turn 1 and 2.
Sunday at Kansas, NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on 1010XL.
Lauren Brooks here here for Novus Glass of Jacksonville. We've all had to deal with a cracked windshield, and that's annoying, I know. But next time, go to a local company to get your windshield repaired for free at Novus Glass. And now, Novus Glass is the only place in town where you can get TurboTint. TurboTint will improve your energy efficiency and enhance your car and building. TurboTint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays, so all of us Floridians need TurboTint. And remember, Novus Glass is the only place you can get it. Book today at orangepark.turbotint.com. That's orangepark.turbotint.com.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
As a contractor, finding reliable subcontractors is key to project success. Prosser here. Guys, that's where Lloyd's Heating and Air shines. Not just your mechanical HVAC expert, but your partner, understanding every facet of construction to keep your project on track. Lloyd's will spot issues early before they cause delays. If you're a contractor with a need for reliability, visit LloydsHeatingandAir.com. Lloyd's Heating and Air, keeping you comfortable in every season.
Hey, so why don't we tee off? Tee it high and let it fly.
He's got a beautiful backswing.
Oh, he got all of that one. Tour news, local updates, and the latest gear. Cut a few strokes off your game Saturday mornings at 10 with the Edwin Watts Golf Hour on 1010XL.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. With the weather starting to turn for the better, look ahead. Get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are best in the business. If you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Who are these new names and how can they help?
Tell me his name again.
Listen for 1010XL draft profiles fired up by Wicca Candle Bar and River City Screens. Roll through the offseason with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
Fantastic news here due to overwhelming response. Beers Diamonds extending their amazing earring and bracelet sale for Mother's Day. Hicken here. So now through Mother's Day, you can still save up to 40% off diamond earrings and diamond tennis bracelets. It's Beard's most ambitious offer ever, and response has been incredible. The corporate-owned big box stores can't touch these prices. Beard's locally owned, man. Say hi to the Lupos when you go over there. The freedom to give you pricing you deserve, highest quality diamond jewelry. Celebrate the mothers in your life with something they'll appreciate for decades to come. They also have special pricing on other Mother's Day favorites, including colored gemstones, pearls, pendants, and fashion jewelry. Beard's Diamonds, your destination for making this Mother's Day truly special. Don't miss Beard's Diamonds' biggest sale ever. Up to 40% off Beard's already beatable value price. Now through Mother's Day at the Town Center. Only locally owned jeweler. It's Beard's Diamonds.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
It's Guggen Golf Time. If you and a friend would like to play in this year's Coastal Equipment Guggen Open Golf Tournament, May 19th at Hidden Hills Golf Club, text Guggen to the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010 for your chance to win. Score a hole-in-one and win an Atlantic Infinity SUV. You could win Chicken Salad Chick certificates and food for a year. Check out the big boy toys from Ride Now Power Sports. Thanks to our sponsors, Twin Peaks, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and TopDressing.com.
Are you struggling with hair loss?
At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women. With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 87.
And now for something completely different. I am saddened to inform you, Heeligans, that this year's Kentucky Derby winner, Sovereignty, is skipping the Preakness next week to take aim at the Belmont. Whatever happened to the purity of just run all 3 races in the span of 6 weeks? Whatever happened to, I don't know, the love of the game? Load management has come
ask LeBron
for horse racing, and I'm very sad about it.
Well, couldn't they or shouldn't they spread the races out
a little farther?
Yeah. I've read that a lot of the people who are certainly much more in the knowledge of the horse racing community, that they believe that more horses would run all 3 and aim for the Triple Crown if they had a little more time in between. But
when is the Belmont?
Because June 7th.
Okay.
Or June 17th, something like that.
Okay. So, within 1 month they have 3.
I thought it was like 3 races in 5 weeks is what I read. So
the Belmont is on... I looked it up yesterday. I think it's it's in June.
Okay.
So
I do feel like when I'm watching, like when I was watching the Kentucky Derby,
June,
that I watched
June 7th, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I'm not like I watch horse racing all the time, but when I'm watching I feel a little sad for the horses, and especially mine. He got so tired. I was like, he needs a little break.
Well, obviously the conditions weren't ideal for certain horses because of how muddy it was, but at the end of the day too, some people would tell you it's a lot about how the jockey, encourages them at certain, they need to take it a little easier or they need to start out the gate faster.
Yeah.
It just depends. Again, I am not speaking from expertise because I'm always worried that we're going to see a horse fall. So I kind of watch it with bated breath in that regard.
Yeah.
But I know most people are watching it with bated breath because they have money on some of the horses. In case you missed it earlier, we did open the show talking about Todd Golden and the 6-year extension that he will get. He was making $3.6 million. He'll now earn $6 million for next year. So certainly Scott Strickland, the athletic director, made a smart move because we've already speculated that he could potentially go to the NBA rather than later and follow in the footsteps of one Billy Donovan. A couple other Gator basketball notes. Will Richard and Ruben Chinyelu have been invited to the 2025 NBA G League Elite Camp, and Florida has 2 premier non-conference basketball games set for next season. UConn and Madison Square Garden. My goodness, that'll be a good matchup. And then Arizona and Las Vegas. Can I encourage the schedule makers of the Florida basketball and the Jaguars to align
Vegas
while we're in Vegas for Jaguars Raiders, that also Florida plays Arizona in Vegas? I'll make sure that we can get tickets to the game. Yeah,
Start manifesting.
Can that happen? That would be unbelievable.
I can't even imagine because I go back to when we were there this last year and it was obviously the college playoff time.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a very long day because we had to start with the Florida Gators at like 10 a.m. and then Notre Dame played at like 5 p.m. and then we had a party and I ended up getting a wellness check on Sunday because I couldn't even leave the hotel room.
But they kind of encourage you to stay in your hotel room because our room had a view of the mountains, whereas your view had a room of the pool.
All the TVs.
At Stadium Swim, so you were able to watch the Jags game and the Bears game at Jags Raiders, and I don't remember who the Bears played, but
Lions, we got beat real bad.
So all from your room, so like why leave? So, but they do tell you before you check in. Like if you're in your room for 24 hours and you don't leave, we will send someone just to check.
Which
on
I
you.
wasn't. I just had my do not disturb on, and I forgot.
Yeah,
on the thing on the door. Yeah.
Which I will say, I was telling people the other day, Allegiant Stadium is really cool. Like it's totally different than any NFL stadium that I had been to before. I haven't been to SoFi, and so it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, it was definitely. I would also say in terms of ease of getting there, there's a pedestrian bridge. Even if you do take an Uber, if you do drive your car, there's tons of parking lots. And so just a quick little plug for our friends over at Circa and the package that probably will be sold again through our friends here at 1010XL and with Circa Sports.
Yeah, we did Uber, and getting an Uber to and from was very easy. Obviously very easy from Circa itself in Old Vegas, but then to get the Uber leaving the game, we walked over to an area and it was clearly marked, like, go over here. You know, it wasn't just like try and walk as far away from the stadium as you possibly can to get service and get your Uber. It was a really well-organized thing. And so I shouldn't be surprised because it is Las Vegas and they have so many events every year, but a lot of fun. Speaking of the Jaguars, what will be some of the storylines to come out of this Saturday's rookie mini camp outside of Travis Hunter? Because as we all know, Travis Hunter is the storyline.
Yeah, I think the running backs in general are going to be a conversation, and that to me is fun because I do think that that's going to be a continuation of how much are we going to. And I heard Fred Taylor talking about Etienne this morning, and I like when it comes to that contract, what's next? How much do they like Tank Bigsby? How much usage are we going to get out of the new running backs in general? What is it all? And you're talking about rookies, so we're going to be kind of focused on those rookie running backs. But I do think that is one of the more fascinating conversations as we head into, to me, it's that and the secondary is going to be two things that we're going to talk about a ton, even from rookie camp through camp.
You're not going to gain anything, folks. If you head out to the Miller Electric Center, especially in the trenches.
But there's going to be storyline. Like there's always, no matter what.
Let's also hope the weather holds. Young Jacob Simons did remind me that there's a 70% chance of rain on Saturday, so let's hope we manifest that rain away so that all the fans can have an opportunity to see Travis Hunter in the teal and black for the first time.
But they could, in theory, move it into, like, not the fans wouldn't necessarily be able to go, but they could, in theory, move it inside.
Yeah, but then the fans can't go. That's my point.
Yeah.
The teal and black, though, yes, they will be on the field one way or another. And ultimately, I think much like the football conversation philosophically, I know our friend Bucky Brooks, the NFL Network and the Jaguars radio team, has talked about this at length because he's involved in it. The growth of 7-on-7 and thus this idea of DBs versus wide receivers. That is something I think that you can gain even in a limited setting like this where they're in T-shirts and shorts at rookie mini camp. And so that'll certainly be something that I will be watching.
Travis Hunter covering Travis Hunter.
Yes, exactly. Well said, Taylor. Well said.
I believe Brian Thomas Jr., as we sit here today, it could change, is a better receiver than Travis Hunter just because he has experience at the NFL level. Mm-hmm. What do you think about Tyson Campbell versus Travis Hunter when it comes to cornerback?
Yeah, I think at this point Tyson has to be better just because of the nuance of having been in the league and up to speed. I mean, hey, listen, if he's better, like, sure, okay, cool. I think it ultimately just comes down to, once again, this idea of it is few and far in between that you can find rookies who are plug and play and immediately are a top 10, top 5 player at their position.
Yeah.
There is a learning curve, even if it is minute, for almost every single player, regardless of position.
Yeah, I think, and there's definitely already, they talk about the speed of the NFL and how that's one of the harder things to kind of adjust to, and that's why that defensive back room in general is so difficult for the transition. You talk about it being one of the harder adjustments, but I do think, and this goes beyond rookie minicamp, but when we talk about Brian Thomas Jr., because I think a big thing, once we get past this and we get to OTAs, a lot of the conversation is going to be, we didn't see Brian Thomas Jr. a ton with Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. It was when Trevor was hurt that we really started seeing Brian Thomas Jr. take off, and that was with Mac Jones. So do we see that connection right away? Does it take a little bit of time? Because it's going to be him adjusting to not only that and get him and Brian Thomas Jr. And now it's a year into this, so it's not like they don't have any sort of relationship whatsoever, but you just didn't quite see it with them. And then now you also have another guy in Travis Hunter that Trevor's going to be learning. All of his safety blankets are gone. Like Evan Ingram's gone, Christian Kirk's gone, Zay Jones, who was his guy, is gone. He doesn't have Marvin Jones. Yeah, like all those people are gone. So it's now up to Trevor to make these new connections. And I think that's going to be, once we get to OTAs, something that's going to be really cool to kind of watch develop.
Yeah, if you're an elite wide receiver in the NFL, your rookie season is probably going to be really good. Yeah. Like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, going back to Randy Moss, A.J. Brown's in the conversation, Puka Nacua, who we mentioned yesterday. yesterday. Like, if you're an elite wide receiver, you do perform well in your rookie season at the NFL level. But is Travis Hunter going to be an elite wide receiver right off the rip when we've been told by so many people that he still has to become a polished route runner?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just rely on your physical gifts and skill set like you can in college at the NFL level. And so that is going to be just really interesting to see at the end of the season who's the best receiver on this team, who's the best corner on this team.
Yeah, that is going to be probably one of the biggest topics that we're going to talk about all summer is the Travis Hunter in general, but also just those two position groups in general too. And I think as we talk about when we were labeling our, most the position groups we like the most to least yesterday, pretty much it was that wide receiver group for you and I, Lauren, was up there. And it's those two guys. We're counting on those two guys being top tier wide receivers. If it doesn't end up happening, if Travis Hunter does take a little bit of time, then that skews that room quite a bit, in my opinion.
So the comp that I keep hearing for Travis Hunter is Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, of course, but Ochocinco now technically his legal name, I suppose, or maybe he changed it.
I think he went back to Chad
He went
Johnson.
back. Okay, we were talking about Robbie Anderson
yesterday. I was like, what's his real name? I
can't figure it out. So Ochocinco's an interesting situation because he started his college career at Santa Monica, played one season at Oregon State, his first season in the NFL, 12 games with 3 starts, 28 catches, 329 yards. And I think a lot of that, despite being a second-round pick, was once again because of the change in pace and this rookie curve that you face, especially in his case where you had only played one season of Power 4, Power 5 college ball. 2002, his second season, 16 games, 14 of them starts, 69 catches, nice, 1,166 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns.
So are you expecting more of that?
I'm expecting more. I'm not expecting 1,000 season from Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I think a realistic expectation, not 329 receiving yards, but something in the ballpark of
6-7,
40 to 50 catches. I think the presence of Brian Thomas Jr. certainly helps. Ochocinco had Houshmandzadeh.
Yeah.
I would think like something around 600, 700 receiving yards because the hope, of course, is that if Brian Thomas Jr. is who we all believe he is and he's going for 1,500 yards.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
And you couple that with this idea of you have committed to running the ball, you have committed to bringing in more traditional tight ends as opposed to a flex tight end. Will they see some action as well as your running backs out of the backfield in the receiving game?
Yeah, that'd be a fun conversation as our predictions for each of those two guys. I may have to do that. All right, let's say hello to Matt Hayes.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Matt, what'd you think about Todd Golden's extension?
It's great. I think Scott Strickland's trying to keep him away from North Carolina, Kansas, or any other bigger job that opens up.
Oh, come on now. Hubert's under contract till 2030. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They hired a GM. Which, speaking of, that brings me to, we had a great conversation to start the show, Matt, this idea of recruiting. Obviously, in college basketball, you have a 15-player roster at max versus in college football, 90-plus players on your roster. But at the same time,
Maybe 105.
maybe even 105. This idea of having a GM, maybe not even just for college football, but for all sports, easing the load on the head coach. I believe that's something we're going to see more and more. And that's why I think in this day and age where we're seeing Todd Golden, Pat Kelsey, these younger names in the coaching ranks emerge in light of the Mike Krzyzewski, the Roy Williams retirements, I think you're getting some cats who they want to recruit, especially because they know they have help and they don't have to do it every single hour of every single day.
I think be careful what you wish for because the more people you bring in to be part of your ecosystem, to use a Gladstone term, especially a guy that's going to have that kind of power and who reports to the AD, not the coach.
Right. And
So
that's a very big delineation.
What you may have there at that point then is the GM talking to the AD about the coach. And eventually that's going to be another person against the coach. So I've always thought that, especially in colleges, like these guys want the GMs because they don't want to deal with the money part of it.
Right.
They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the constant player movement. They just want to coach football. And they're leaving themselves a gigantic blind spot of now you got another guy that's evaluating, not just the AD.
But do you think it will become more prevalent in other sports outside of football?
It could.
Or just one GM for the whole school?
I don't know why basketball would even have one because, I mean, it's 15 players. It's not that difficult. Like, if you're getting paid like Todd Golden $5 million a year, you should be able to handle that.
Hubert's got somebody in North Carolina. Hubert's got somebody in North Carolina. Should be noted.
Hubert should be able to handle that. That's, I mean, Mike Krzyzewski handled it forever.
Yeah.
He won a couple titles.
How many general managers does North Carolina have?
Between Lombardi and him, yeah. I listen, man.
Every sport has their own.
They got deep pockets up there in Chapel Hill. No one
Lombardi
realized.
should have said a book tour, Bill. Really?
What's coming up, Matt?
We have Gino Toretta, Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, very nice.
Today.
We talked some Miami football earlier.
We also have another Kane with Dave Campo. He'll be on as well.
Yeah.
And Leon.
And Leon, a third Kane.
Multiple Canes.
Lots of Canes.
Ask
and
him
JJ.
who will be quarterback week 1.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, we enjoyed our conversation with Adam Lichtenstein earlier of the Sun Sentinel, talking all things Hurricanes. So you Hurricanes get a double dose because they're going to do it on XL Primetime as well. That'll do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. Primetime comes up next.